We don't think it's entirely uninvestable. We know that China does want to become the largest economy in the world, wants to be the most innovative in the world as well, wants to dial down some of the mass media products and the inequity that has taken place. But I don't think it wants to shut its economy down. Capital may be flowing to our economy and other developed markets and maybe other emerging markets from China because of what has happened recently. The government is cracking down. It has strengthened its crackdown.
So we had been pulling out of China. We started last November, actually, after the debacle around the Ant Group IPO and really the banishment, it seems, of Jack Ma. And we saw increasing signs that the government was going to get tough on companies. We didn't know and companies which were more than unicorns. They had exploded onto the scene, and they had become so powerful, as had their leaders, that they almost seemed to be threatening the government. At least that seemed to be our take on the government's response.
You know, one thing that I think is happening is a revaluation. The incentives to become incredibly successful in China are diminishing somewhat now that the government is expressing concern that some people feel they have more power than the government would like them to have. Big surprise this year in terms of the new administration here in the United States is sustaining the policies of the old administration. Very large mega cap companies being able to scale to other parts of the world. I have a feeling there are some national security considerations that might either slow them down or stop them. I would say from a valuation point of view, these stocks have come down, and from a valuation point of view, probably will remain down. So again, valuation reset, questions about how the mega companies are going to be able to scale into the rest of the world. They may not. That would hurt their long-term prospects.
Capital may be flowing to our economy and other developed markets and maybe other emerging markets from China because of what has happened recently. The government is cracking down. It has strengthened its crackdown. It started with Jack Ma. We just thought that was a bit of a power play last November. But that was really the beginning of a number of moves having to do with data privacy, data leakage. Data leakage would be DD, which right after it IPO'd, the government basically, in effect, is trying to shut it down. Certainly not allowing any new riders, or no one can load the app. So it sent a loud message about data leakage and making sure to go right through the right channels there. And then national security, another one having to do with data leakage. We saw the online education industry basically nationalized. They were declared overnight nonprofit. Many investors are thinking, oh my goodness, this is becoming an uninvestable market. We're not so sure. I think China's making it clear that it's less interested in feeding the digital part of the economy and much more interested in becoming much more self-sufficient on the manufacturing side of the economy.
But what we have done, we did after this last bloodbath in the stocks, we did try and sort through, okay, which companies are doing things the government likes.
Right.
And what we're seeing are those that are catering to tier 3, tier 4 cities, logistics, groceries. So you've seen us buy JD.com. JD Logistics is a big part of JD.com. I think they own 70% of it. So that's probably been our biggest purchase, as well as some Pinduoduo for the same reason. But if you were to look at what we were doing in those portfolios, we were really swapping them out of other names that we think are going to be continue to be in harm's way, or certainly under government pressure, like the Alibabas, for example.
But we don't think it's entirely uninvestable. We know that China does want to become the largest economy in the world, wants to be the most innovative in the world as well, wants to dial down some of the mass media products and the inequity that has taken place. But I don't think it wants to shut its economy down. That said, one of the reasons we think cyclical deflation is going to surface here is we do think China is slowing down. And some of these measures will, I'm sure, hurt confidence over there and cause more conservative behavior, perhaps exacerbating a slowdown. So with that, I will wrap up here just by re-emphasizing we don't think inflation's a problem. And yet, everywhere I go, I tune into conferences, some of the finest minds in the world, and they express puzzlement at why long bond yields have gone down, and basically say it's just because of quantitative easing. Well, quantitative easing has been with us this entire time of rates rising from 0.5 in the depths of the crisis to 1.75. We think the bond market is seeing something different, and it is more deflationary undercurrents in the economy than I think most economists and strategists perceive. But we will see. This is what makes a market. And as I always say, I don't mind being on the side of an argument where very few others are. Because if the markets have not incorporated it in or discounted it, and we're wrong, then we're not going to be punished that much for having that point of view. But if we're right, we could have just one heck of a good time during the next year to, I would say, 5 years. Because we believe that the 5 innovation platforms around which we have focused all of our research, DNA sequencing, robotics, energy storage, artificial intelligence, and blockchain technology, along with the 14 different technologies involved in them, are going to lead to exponential growth trends, the likes of which we have never seen before.